All right, beautiful. Thank you so much for joining me for a Yin Yoga class. The first Tuesday of every month, I offer a 60-minute gentle floor-based class followed by 15 minutes of optional journaling. So if you would like to stick around after class to journal, you are welcome to join me for that as well. For this class, like I said, it's floor-based. It's meant to be gentle. We're going to do, in Yin Yoga, we're going to do long holds of gentle postures. So we won't push ourselves as deep into postures as we might in other styles of yoga, but we're also going to hold the asanas for longer. So it works not just into muscles, but really deep into connective tissue, into your tendons, ligaments, fascia, joints. You don't need any fancy yoga props. You can have a yoga mat and or a carpeted area. And then you might want a couple of pillows and blankets nearby, but nothing too fancy. So you're gonna find yourself in a comfortable seated position. You can sit crisscross applesauce or in Sukhasana with one foot in front of the other. And you can take a moment and just kind of rock back and forth side to side. And then sit up really tall, drop your shoulders and relax your jaw. You can take a moment here and close your eyes. And if closing your eyes is distracting, you can do a soft fuzzy gaze just beyond the tip of your nose. Take a slow inhale through your nose. And a slow exhale through your nose. And as you start to check in with your breath, as you start to come into your body, into a little bit of stillness, notice how this feels. Notice maybe what's coming up for you. It could be a sensation in the physical body. If you're not comfortable, you can switch how you're sitting. Could be like a general feeling that's kind of been following you throughout the day. Or it might be, a thought on your mind, like something that happened earlier today, or a task that you have to do after class. So just notice, when we start to go from like our day-to-day life into our yoga practice, where we're more intentional with our breath and our bodies, sometimes right away some stuff pops up, and just notice whatever that is. You can name it, acknowledge it, and then politely set it aside. It'll be there for you after class. But for now, you're just taking some time just to be with yourself, to enjoy some time with yourself, and to breathe. We're going to start with a simple breathing technique called even breathing. And the idea is you'll inhale and exhale for the same amount of time, an even amount of time. So we'll start by inhaling through the nose for 4, exhaling through the nose for 4, and we'll work our way up to 6. It's a really simple breathing technique that anyone can do. And there's been some cool studies around it that show that it actually helps to lower blood pressure, stress, and anxiety in people, which is cool. So again, you can close your eyes or do a soft fuzzy gaze beyond the tip of your nose, sitting up tall, shoulders down, chest proud. Relax your face, seal your lips, and begin. Inhale through your nose for 1, 2, 3, 4. Exhale through your nose, 1, 2, 3, 4. Inhale through your nose, 1, 2, 3, 4. Exhale through your nose, 1, 2, 3, 4. Inhale for a count of 4, 3, 2, 1. Exhale for 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhale for 4. And exhale for 4. This time inhale for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Exhale for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Breathe in, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Breathe out, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhale for 5. Exhale for 5, feeling your chest and shoulders fall. Inhale for 5. Exhale for 5, matching the exhale to the inhale. Slow breath in for 5. Easy breath out for 5. This time, inhale for 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Exhale, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhale, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Exhale, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhale for 6. Exhale for 6. Breathe in for 6. Breathe out for 6. Inhale. Exhale. Last one, breathe in for as long as you want, and then when you're ready, match that with the exhale. Whenever you're ready, just return your breath to normal, in and out through your nose. If at any point during class you find that your kind of mind is wandering or your practice is getting away from you, you can just return your thoughts to your breath. It's a really simple way to come back into your body, just to remind yourself why you're here, right? It's not like to push yourself or to fold yourself into a pretzel. It's really just to enjoy your own company, stretch a little bit, breathe a little bit, relax a little bit, keep it simple. If your eyes are closed, you can slowly open your eyes. Any motions that feel good to your body here, feel free to do them, just kind of moving around, trusting that your body knows what it needs. And we'll return to this concept throughout class that your body knows what it needs, and we're just kind of learning how to listen to ourselves better. As you're ready, you're going to make your way onto your back for our first posture of the day, a fan favorite, banana pose, Bananasana. So you can take a moment once you're on your back, picture in your mind's eye your favorite banana. It can be perfectly yellow, super brown, maybe a little green. It can be Chiquita, Dole, Fair Trade, Trader Joe's, organic, right? Your favorite banana. And we're going to make that C shape, that C curve with our body. So start by bringing your feet close together, arms overhead, kind of like a pencil. You can take a moment here just to stretch up and down, make it feel good. And then as you're ready, bring your hands and your feet to the right side of your mat. So from a bird's eye view, you look a little like a banana. Couple options, you can cross one hand on top of the other. You can cross your left foot on top of your right foot for an outer thigh stretch. You can have your arms long, or sometimes I like to bend my arms and catch opposite elbow and opposite hand. And the idea here is you're just stretching the left side body, gently compressing the right side body, but never a point of pain. We're going to hold here for 3 minutes. And if at any point what you're doing does not feel good anymore, you are welcome to switch up what you're doing. So, if it's too much of a stretch, you can bring your hands and feet back closer to the center line of your body. If it's too little of a stretch, you can bring your hands and feet closer to the right side room. If your lower back is really coming off the floor in a way that doesn't feel good, you can even roll up a little like blanket or pillow underneath the small of your back to support there. The idea of Yin Yoga, right, is it kind of comes in reaction to what we'll call Yang styles of yoga, like power yoga, vinyasa, hot yoga, which are all about like pushing yourself. There's like standing postures. It can be cardiovascular, kind of intense. Yin yoga is sort of in reaction to that. And it's this idea that rather than contracting muscles to get into postures, you're going to relax muscles to get into postures. So in some In some yoga postures or in some classes, you're like, squeezing your muscles, toning your muscles in the postures. But in this, it's really about relaxing the muscles, relaxing the body. And there's 3 very simple rules for Yin Yoga. Rule 1, make a shape with your body, like we're doing now. We're making a banana shape. Rule 2, hold the shape with your body. That's what we're doing here. Rule 3, breathe through your nose. So you make a shape, you hold a shape, and you breathe. At a certain point, especially in long held postures, it might get a little uncomfortable, maybe a little boring. For some people, being still can be like its own version of anxiety or stress. And these things are all normal, and these are things to breathe through. However, if at a certain point in the posture, like we're halfway through now, at a certain point in the posture, it really doesn't feel good, like you're gritting your teeth, you know that you're not going to feel after class, that's an opportunity to switch up what you're doing. Like maybe you uncross a foot, maybe you grab a prop, maybe you go a little deeper or do a little bit less, but you just want to notice the difference between occasionally moving because what you're doing is not sustainable, it doesn't feel right for your body, versus constantly moving because you feel like you can't quite get comfortable, right? You just want to make a shape, hold a shape, and breathe in and out through your nose for 30 more seconds. Notice where you might still be holding on to tension. Let it go with your exhale breaths. You're just melting into the floor, softening into the posture, not forcing or fighting. In the final few breaths, if you want to go a little deeper at the end, you can bring your hands and feet closer to the right side of the room, or just hold where you are, knowing that the end is near. Breathing in, and slowly breathing out. Inhale. And exhale. Last one, slow breath in. Any lingering tension in the body, just let it go through the exhale breath. Because we hold the postures for longer, we want to come out of them slowly, so we're not just like carelessly coming out. So if you have a hand or an arm or foot crossed, start by uncrossing those. If your head rolled to one side, bring the back of your head back, and then slowly walk your hands and feet back to the center line of your body. You can make any movements that feel good with your body, and then just bring your arms and legs down back into a neutral position. Lying on your back, arms and legs down. So in many styles of yoga, we would call this Savasana pose or corpse pose, dead body pose. In Yin Yoga, it's called puddle pose, like a puddle on a rainy day, right? Make like a puddle. You can have your arms and legs as big or as small as you want. If lying on your back with your legs straight doesn't feel good to your lower back, you are welcome to grab a small pillow or blanket and place that under your lower back. You can also always bend your legs so that your feet are on the floor and your knees rest together, and that'll also take some pressure off of the lower back. And we'll just find a little bit of stillness and neutrality between every posture. So again, in that banana pose, right, we stretch one side of the body, we compress the other side of the body, kind of open through our shoulders and our chest. And so then it's important to just come back into a neutral position. So the one stretchy side of the body evens out and the one compressed side of the body evens out, and your shoulder is going to break from being over your head. Let's do the other side of Bananasana. Feet together, arms overhead. You can take a moment here, stretching up and down. Maybe flex your toes back for a second. Okay, and as you're ready, you're going to start to walk your hands and feet to the left side of your mat, making a banana shape in the other direction. Maybe if you cross your left foot on top of your right foot on the other side, on this side you cross your right foot on top of the left foot. So there's a little bit of symmetry. However, we are not symmetrical. This side might feel a little or a lot different. So maybe on the other side, you brought your hands and feet all the way out to the right. And then this side, a little bit goes a long way. And that's okay, right? So if you need to grab a prop here or remove a prop, right, you can put a pillow under your lower back or not. And then you're just going to find your way into a shape that feels good, that you can hold. Make a shape, hold a shape, breathe through your nose. Pretty simple. If having your arms over your head really doesn't feel good to your shoulders, you can also have one or both arms down by your side. So, in styles of yoga where we're holding postures for like 20 seconds, 30 seconds, a minute max, right? You can get away with like pushing yourself to an extreme. But in Yin Yoga, you want to do about 70% of what you think you should be doing. And if you're a person who tends to be kind of harsh on yourself and push yourself, maybe do like 60% of what you think you should be doing, right? Because we're holding the postures for longer, sometimes, especially at first, it doesn't feel like much is happening. But after class, you realize like, wow, I really stretched something in my ribs or my shoulder or whatever it is. So again, we're doing a little less, but we're holding it for longer. So we're not just working into muscles, we're really working into the connective tissue in the body as well. Holding here for about a minute and a half longer as you breathe in and out through your nose. With the knowledge that we still have some time to go, if what you're doing doesn't feel good, remember that you can switch it up. You can bring your hands and feet closer to the center line of your body for less of a stretch, or further to the left for more of a stretch. Crossing your right foot on top of your left foot no longer feels good. You could, uncross your feet, place a blanket under your lower back, like whatever might feel good for you. And then once you've kind of readjusted, you go back to this idea of stillness and breath, in and out through your nose. With about 30 seconds left, notice where you might be holding on to some tension, maybe somewhere unexpected, like in your fingertips, right, or your abdomen. Just take a moment here, just scanning the body, and see if you can relax just a little bit more. So you're not fighting or forcing the posture, you're just kind of going with it. In our final few breaths, if you'd like to get a deeper stretch at the end, you can bring your hands and feet closer to the left side of the room or hold just as you are, knowing that we're almost to the end. Breathe in. And slowly breathe out. Inhale. Exhale. Next one, inhale, feel your chest rise. And slowly exhale, letting go of any lingering tension in the body. Let's be intentional with how we come out of it. If your hands or feet are crossed in any way, uncross. If your head maybe rolled a little to the left, roll it back to center. And then slowly walk your hands and feet back to the center line of your body. Arms down, legs down, back into your petal pose. Can again do any little motions, maybe you're rocking yourself back and forth that feel good. And then just find a little bit of stillness, a little bit of breath. So normally in Yin Yoga, we hold postures for 3 to 5 minutes. Today, I thought we would do a posture that is within Yin Yoga sequencing. It's called deer pose, but we won't hold it for quite as long because it's a really great hip posture, but it can be like a little bit intense for say 3 minutes. So that is my intro to it. Bend your legs so your feet are on the floor if they're not already. Roll off to one side. Press yourself up, take your time, find your way in a comfortable seated position. So just know that for the next posture, we're gonna hold it for like 1 minute, not 3 minutes. So as you're ready, find your way into a comfortable seated position, bend your legs so that your feet are on the floor, your butt is on the floor. Bring your hands behind you. And at first you're just gonna windshield wiper your legs right and left, back and forth. So just getting some motion in the hips and knees. Okay, and then you're gonna sit up nice and tall. And from here, you're gonna move your feet to the right, bend your left knee. So ideally, your leg makes a little bit of a square here. Your left shin is parallel to your mat. And from here, you're gonna roll a little to the left so your right hip comes off the floor. Start to bring the right knee back. And eventually, your right shin will be parallel to the other side of your mat. Eventually, left knee in line with left hip, right knee in line with right hip, shins parallel. Eventually, 2 hips on the floor. This is a really cool posture. It's an internal rotation to one hip and an external rotation to the other hip. However, getting your 2 legs at a 90-degree angle might not happen today, right? A couple things to keep in mind. If your right butt is really off the floor, you can take some blankets and pillows and put it under your right seat. If you have your left knee really off the floor, you could take a pillow and put it under your left knee, under your right knee. Lots of different options here. So once you've found a way, the idea again, internal rotation to one hip, external rotation to the other hip, it's pretty cool. You can have blankets under your knees, under your butt. If none of this is working, you're gonna undo that, keep your left knee bent and just take your right leg forward. This is an alternative if the internal rotation to the hip does not work for you today, you still get the external rotation to the hip. Otherwise, in our deer pose, which some people also refer to as cheerleader pose because you may have seen high school cheerleaders pose like this for the yearbook. And from here, we're gonna get a spine twist. So if your front left leg is bent, you're gonna start to look to the left, over left shoulder. We just have 30 seconds left here, right? So we just took a little bit of time finding a shape with our body, and then we're gonna hold and breathe. So it's a gentle abdominal wall spine twist, great for the hips. There's a lot of external rotation to the hips in Yin Yoga, but not a ton of internal rotation. So deer pose is nice, but again, we'll like start with 1 minute and then slowly over time, if you want to do this posture on your own, like once or twice a week, you can work up to doing it for 3 to 5 minutes. But today we'll just do it for 3 more breaths. Inhale. As you exhale, look over your left shoulder, twisting a little bit more. Also good for digestion. Chinese medicine, this posture is good for the liver meridian. Inhale, stretch up. Exhale, pull abdomen in, look over left shoulder. And anywhere you find you're holding on to some lingering tension, inhale. Exhale, just let it go. Good. Slowly, carefully unwind. Coming back to center. To come out of it, you're just going to lean to the left, lift the right leg up, bring the right leg forward, left leg forward. Let's windshield wiper the legs. And we're going to do the other side here. Okay, bend your right leg. So eventually your knee is in line with your hip and your right shin is parallel to your mat. It always takes me a while to find that shape. From here, you can lean to the right if it feels good and start to bring the left leg back. You can gently flex your toes. That can help to take pressure away from the hip. And eventually left knee in line with left hip, left shin parallel to the other side of your mat. And again, if one hip is way off the floor, you can place a blanket underneath your hip. If one or both knees are way off the floor, you can place pillows under your knees. And if this internal rotation to the hip does not feel good, just swing your left leg around so that the left leg is long. And then we're gonna do the spine twist on the other side. Take left hand to outside of right thigh and just start to look over right shoulder. Drop your shoulders, lift your chest, check in. If you're holding your breath or gritting your teeth, grab a prop, do a little less. Again, you can try flexing your feet a little bit. That can take pressure off of the hip flexor. Relax what you can relax. Breathe into where you can breathe. A little bit of discomfort is okay, but never going to a point of pain or a point that you know would not feel good after class. We'll take 3 more breaths here. Inhale, stretch up. Exhale, pull abdomen in, relax shoulders, look over right shoulder. Just a gentle twist, good for digestion, good for your spine. Inhale, stretch. Exhale, twist. Last breath. Inhale through your nose. Exhale through your nose. Slowly unwind, looking forward, come out of it. You can lean to one side, bring the left knee up, straighten the left leg, right leg, turn around, lie on your back. Savasana, letting that one go. Again, we didn't hold it as long as other postures, but like many things in life, if you just start with like a little bit, slowly you can work your way up, right? So if that hip movement or anything like that spoke to you, just try doing it a couple times a week, and slowly over time you can build up to like 3 minutes in the posture. But for today, I thought we would just play around with it and maybe plant a seed without, forcing our hips into an internal-external rotation situation. And again, if you'd like that posture and you'd like to play around with it more, it is called deer pose, like Bambi, D-E-E-R, deer pose. And then just let it go. Let the posture go. Let your body relax. Let the floor hold you up. Notice where you might be holding on to some tension, and let it go. And I don't know about you, but sometimes I will notice where I'm holding on to tension. I'll exhale, I'll let it go. And then 5 minutes later, I'm like, I thought I told you to relax, shoulder. And I've noticed that my shoulder is tensed up again. So relaxation is not like a destination. It's just like a place that we can go when we're mindful. So keep that in mind, right? Sometimes you tell your abdomen to relax and your abdomen relaxes. And then you notice a little bit later that it's tensed up again. And that doesn't mean that you did anything wrong, right? It's just like we unconsciously carry stuff in our body. And part of the joy of yoga is noticing that unconscious stuff and then consciously just like giving that shoulder permission to relax, right? Or consciously telling the glutes to relax. So it's not like you don't relax your shoulder and then it's relaxed for life, right? You're just giving yourself the opportunity to be in your body. And relax as you're able. Next, we'll do a back bend. Bend your legs so your feet are on the floor if they weren't there already. Roll off to one side, maybe the side that you haven't rolled off to yet. And then keep rolling, lie down on your abdomen for Sphinx pose. So now picture in your mind's eye your favorite Sphinx. It can be the Sphinx in Egypt, the Sphinx at the Luxor in Las Vegas. It can be the Sphinx in Harry Potter book 4, whatever Sphinx is speaking to you. We're gonna make that shape with the body. So I'll show you from the front and from the side. So from the side, you're just gonna have your legs long. They don't have to be super close together, but also not like way far out, right? And just let your feet relax. And from here, you're gonna start to bend your elbows so that your forearms are on the floor, and it's a nice back bend. So from the front, again, if you picture a Sphinx, you kind of look like the Sphinx, right? Some things to keep in mind. If having the elbows under the shoulders is too much of a back bend, you can bring your arms forward. If you're having some stomach discomfort or you're pregnant and lying on your stomach does not feel good, you can place blankets or pillows under your thighs, like so. And then you still get the back bend, but your stomach gets to hang out, so you're not putting pressure on your abdomen. The other thing to keep in mind, if you're at all like me, at a certain point in this posture, you'll find that your shoulders have tensed way into your ears. So you do want to do a little bit of activation with the arms here to keep the shoulders away from the ears, the chest proud and the neck long. We're going to hold here for 2 more minutes. We're already a minute in. This posture is a really great gentle back bend, and it's really nice for opening through your chest, stretching the fascia on the chest. Try to keep your neck long so you're not like dropping your head down, but you're also not like jamming it up. It's just a gentle stretch. And again, there are perhaps deeper back bends in the world of yoga, but we're holding this one for 3 minutes, right? So keep that in mind, that it doesn't have to be like the deepest back bend of all time. It's just a healing compression to the vertebrae and a healing stretch to the front of the body. Keep that gentle activation with the forearms, the elbows, so that the shoulders stay away from the ears. Notice where you might be holding on to tension. See if you can let it go. So like relaxing the forehead and jaw, relaxing your abdomen, relax your pelvic floor, your seat, your legs, toes and fingers. And there's a little bit of an activation here in the arms, but other than that, you're just letting everything relax and be still. Holding here for 1 more minute. This can be the part where it gets a little bit uncomfortable, either in the body or the mind. This is just an invitation to return your thoughts to your breath and to use your breath to soothe your body and your mind. In the final few moments, you can stay just as you are, knowing that we're almost to the end. Or if you would like a deeper back bend at the end, you can take your Sphinx into what's called seal pose. So press your palms down and see if you can straighten your arms, shoulders down, chest up, getting a little bit more of a back bend. Last breath. Inhale through your nose. Exhale through your nose. And slowly lower down. You can bring your elbows out to the side, hands in towards your body for a belly savasana. You can have your forehead on the floor looking down, or you can look to one side. So I'm going to look to my left with my right ear on the mat. As you inhale, feel the backs of your ribs expand. Nice stretch for the back of your body. As you exhale, let your shoulders fall. Let that posture go. Breathe in. And slowly breathe out. If you're looking to one side, gently lift your head. Look to the other side, evening out the neck. And if you're looking to one side, look forward. Put your hands on the floor and carefully press yourself up into a kneeling position. So next we're going to do what in 26 and 2 yoga is often referred to as fixed firm pose. In other styles of yoga, it can be called hero pose or saddle pose, like you're riding a saddle. So starting with knees, feet together, bring your hands in front of you, open your knees, open your feet. And at first, you're just going to see what it might feel like to sit back so that maybe your hips sit down between your heels. If your hips don't touch the floor today or it just doesn't feel good, take as many pillows as you would like and place them underneath your tush so that you have a little bit of support here. This is a great way to stretch through your toes, ankles, knees. And again, it's an internal rotation to the hips, which we don't have a ton of in Yin Yoga, but I thought we would try a few today. Option to stay here, sitting up nice and tall. You can have your hands in front of you on your thighs, or a different hand variation might be to bring your hands behind you, maybe even in prayer, sitting up tall. Or if you'd like, you can make it a back bend and start to come back. So now we're getting more of a stretch to the quadricep muscles. You can have your elbows on the floor, your hands on the floor behind you, or eventually you can come back so that your head is on the floor. If you practice 26 and 2 yoga with me, you know that in that style of yoga, eventually we have our arms over our head. So maybe in Yin Yoga, you have your arms out to the side or bent, cactus-like goalposts, or maybe just arms down by your side. So doing something maybe a little bit different just for fun. When you go back, it is a deeper stretch to the tops of the legs, the ankles, and the knees. And we are going to hold here for 3 minutes, already a minute into it. If what you're doing already does not feel sustainable, you can add or remove props. Maybe at this point you've been sitting up for a minute and you do feel that your hips are sinking down more. So maybe now you go back. Or maybe you've been lying back this whole time and you're like, you know what, this doesn't feel good. Maybe you gently press yourself up and come back into a more upright position, right? So lots of different options, just trusting that your body knows what it needs in this moment. We're going to hold here for a little bit over a minute longer. That's funny. I went back and automatically brought my arms over my head. I'm so conditioned by 26 and 2 yoga. This is a little different, making it your own. Notice where you might be holding on to tension in your body. Let it go through your exhale breath. So again, rather than forcing your way into the posture, you're just relaxing. This posture is particularly effective for folks who are like runners, cyclists. Maybe you play a sport that involves running, like basketball or soccer. This posture will work into the lower body joints, but it can be intense, right? So again, you're doing like 60 to 70% of what you think you should be doing. You can always place more pillows underneath your butt so there's even more support, and never forcing the body. All you have to do is breathe for another 30 seconds. At the end, just relaxing a little bit more, right? This is those moments where maybe it doesn't feel so comfortable, and that's okay. We're just learning, like kind of going to a, special peaceful place in our mind. Slow inhale through your nose. Slow exhale through your nose. Breathe in. Breathe out. And we're going to be really intentional with how we come out of this. So if you're all the way back, I want you to really take your time. You can put your hands on your feet or the floor and press yourself up. Once you're in an upright position, bring your hands forward, slowly lift your hips. And if you'd like, you can kind of straighten one leg back or both legs back, just taking a moment here to do any motions that might feel good for your body. Whatever feels good for you. And then you're going to turn and lie down on your back into your puddle pose. And this is a great example of, in that posture, right? We stretch the quadriceps, the knees, the shins, the ankles, the toes. We also cut off a little bit of circulation to the toes, the ankles, and the knees. So now when we return into our puddle pose in a more neutral position, we get a nice rush of blood to the lower body. You might, for example, notice like a temperature change happening in your feet right now. You can wiggle your feet or do anything that feels good to you. But sometimes the release out of a posture, especially a long held posture, is as therapeutic as the posture itself. Especially if you do have like tight joints, arthritic joints, right? Get a nice rush of blood right here. Make sure that it's oxygenated blood, being intentional with your breath in and out through the nose. Yin yoga is largely floor-based. There's one standing posture called dangling pose. I will show you dangling pose, and then I will demonstrate a seated version of it as well. For those of you where like standing up doesn't work, or you know that dangling pose is not for you. So let's start by bending our legs, rolling off to one side. Take your time. Slowly make your way up into a seated position, and let's just take a moment sitting for a second, especially if you have low blood pressure. Please know that there is no rush to stand up. We're just going to take a moment sitting here, letting the blood rush down from our head to our heart. And then as you're ready, you're going to make your way into a standing position, and I'm going to stand back a little bit so it's easier for you to see me. This posture is called dangling pose. You can have your feet anywhere from like 2 feet apart to like 3 to 4 feet apart. So you don't want your legs super wide, but they don't need to be like right next to each other, right? And as the name suggests, you're just going to bend your knees and start to fold forward and eventually let your body dangle. Dangling pose. So a couple of things to keep in mind. You can try opening your legs a little wider or bringing them closer together. Could bend your knees a little bit more to take pressure off of the backs of the legs. If you want a deeper hamstring stretch, you can straighten your legs more. But we're going to hold this for 3 minutes, right? So keep in mind that like you don't need to straighten your legs right away because your hamstrings will stretch. You're welcome to have your hands on the floor, or you could bend your elbows and catch opposite elbow and opposite hand. Drop your head, relax your spine. So this is a really great, obviously you're getting a nice rush of blood to the head, right? It's also a great stretch to the backs of the legs and the spine. However, it can be a little bit intense if you have a strained hamstring, an achy back, a history of slipped discs, right? It's going to be a little bit too much pressure on the spine or the backs of the legs. So if that's you, you're just going to put your hands on the floor, bend your legs, and come down into a seated position on your butt with both feet forward. And we're going to do a caterpillar pose where you just fold forward. Couple options if you want to do the seated version. You can put as many pillows and blankets in between your legs and your chest as you want. You can fold forward all the way and let your head drop, or if this does not feel good for your back, fold forward with a flat back, straight spine. So you stick your butt out a little bit, and keep your feet relaxed here. Just have your hands on the floor and fold forward without letting your spine round, right? So chest forward a little bit, hips back a little bit. And this is a really great way to stretch out the back, stretch the backs of the legs without putting too much pressure on the lower back, especially if you have a history of slipped discs. Otherwise, enjoying your dangling pose for 1 more minute. I like to tell this story, so I'm sorry most of you have probably heard it before, but I once did a yin yoga class in the park, and we were doing this posture. I'm in dangling pose looking behind me, and this squirrel just like comes up and is like looking at me dead in the eyes. And I was like, is this squirrel going to bite my butt? And it didn't, but I just had this moment of like, I could stay in this posture, but the squirrel might attack me. Or we're just having like a really nice squirrel to human moment, gazing into each other's eyes. I'm not sure quite what to think about it. But it is amazing, right? When we hold still for a while, the mind can become quite creative, quite imaginative. I once had a student tell me that they were convinced that there was like a spider nest on the ceiling of the yoga studio that I worked at. And I knew for a fact that that was not the case, but I also knew that in her mind, she was probably really uncomfortable and trying to look for reasons why she should be uncomfortable, right? Sometimes
when we find a little bit of stillness and breath, we find we're uncomfortable, and then we try to find like squirrels or spiders to blame it on. Taking a few more slow breaths here, in and out through the nose. Inhale. Exhale. Breathe in. And let it all go through the exhale breath. If you are on your butt, folded forward, slowly walk your hands back in, lift yourself up. If you are dangling, let's be intentional with how we come out of this. Place your hands on the floor in front of you, put some weight into your arms, bend your knees again so your hips sink down, come down, back onto your butt, and take a moment here, and then make your way onto your back for another petal pose. I'm doing a little bit of a costume adjustment, so if you're watching me, do as I say, not as I do, lay on your back, and take a breath. So especially if you were in dangling pose, like that was a lot of blood towards the head, which is actually really nice, good for your skin, good for your brain. But as you come back down, all that blood that was pooling in your head is going to rush back down towards your heart, towards your hips, towards your feet. So when we play around with a little bit of circulation in class, you also got this nice stretch, whether you were seated or standing. Get a nice stretch to the backs of the legs, to the spine, from the lower back and the hips. And so now we just want to let everything relax. So after stretching the hamstrings, you're just going to let the backs of your legs relax. After lengthening your spine, you're going to let your spine reset. That's why we do this puddle pose in between postures, right? Just to let everything reset. So you breathe in. And slowly breathe out. Our longest held posture of the day is going to be a supine butterfly. And for this posture, you're going to stay on your back. Bend your legs so that your feet are on the floor. Knees point up to the ceiling. And then you're just going to start to let your knees open out to the side like butterfly wings so that the soles of your feet come together, your outer ankles come towards the floor, and your knees come to the floor. So we've done a lot of internal rotation to the hips today with deer pose, and then with our, whether you call it fixed firm or hero pose or straddle pose, right? Those are all internal rotations to the hips. So now we're doing this external rotation to the hip. Bringing your heels closer to your groin will open your hips more. Bringing your heels further away from your body will give your hips a little bit of relief. You are also welcome to grab some pillows and place them outsides of your knees or thighs so that your knees, thighs feel a little bit more supported. I know for me, I have really open hips, but sometimes just because I have the range of motion in my hips, for them to come all the way down doesn't actually make that feel good after class. So I've started placing pillows under my knees actually to stop my hips from opening as much as they could. So just keep that in mind. Again, you're doing 60 to 70% of what you might do in a posture that you're holding for 30 seconds or a minute. We're holding here for a full 5 minutes. Whoa, and we're already a minute into it. So if in this first minute, you found that what you're doing does not feel good, if the hips are opening too much, bring the feet further away from the body. If you don't feel much at all, maybe bring your heels a little bit closer to your groin. If you need to place pillows underneath your knees or remove pillows, you can do that. If you find that your lower back is way off the floor, you can place a blanket under your lower back. Right? This is a nice hip opener, good for digestion. Because we're on our back, it's pretty relaxed. There's a lot of versions of this where you're like sitting up or folding forward. I just love the one on the back because then you can kind of just let the upper body relax and do its thing, right? We've done some shoulder intensive postures with banana pose and with Sphinx. So it's nice here just to let your head be heavy, shoulders and hands be heavy. Do a little scan of your body, noticing where you might be holding on to some tension. Just start to relax a little bit deeper. Breathe a little slower. Remembering that relaxation is not a destination or an end goal. It's just something that from time to time we glimpse or we enjoy. So just allow yourself to enjoy a little bit of stillness and breath for 2.5 minutes more. If your mind is wandering, use your breath to soothe your mind. And if how you're in this posture doesn't feel right, feel free to add or remove props, bring your heels closer or further away from your body, and then just return to this stillness, to this breath, going back to that place of deep relaxation. About 30 seconds more. All you have to do is breathe. You can inhale to your nose, feel your abdomen rise. Exhale through your nose, feel your abdomen fall. On the breath in, notice your ribs gently expanding. And on the breath out, notice your ribs gently contracting. To come out of it, you're just slowly going to start to inch your feet towards the back of your mat until your legs become long. If you have props, you can just set them to the side. And then return back to a neutral position so that your hips are not opening so much. And let that posture go. Noticing any sensations in the body, shifts in perception as you release out. Sometimes, especially with hip openers or back bends, we can release some tension in the body, and sometimes that comes as a little bit of a surprise. So I often have the experience of talking to people who after class will be like, oh my gosh, I totally cried in that back bend or like in that hip opener, is something wrong with me? And the answer is no, there's nothing wrong with you. We just tend to store some emotion, some tension in our body. And when we release it, it can be a little or a lot intense in the moment, but hopefully you feel good afterwards, right? Like a sort of catharsis. So if you feel any like shift, that's normal. And also, if you don't feel anything or it was purely physical, right, you didn't have an urge to like cry or laugh, that's also really normal. Again, a lot of this yoga is just getting to know ourselves better. And sometimes that means that the posture that other people are like, oh my gosh, that was so intense. You're like, I didn't feel much. And other times that means that the posture that it looks like everybody else can do, but you can't do, right? Or it's really hard for you to do, that's part of it too, right? You're just trusting that even if the person next to you is folded into a pretzel, you don't have to be folded into a pretzel. If the person next to you is having the time of their life, you don't have to be having the time of your life, right? Like we do not have to match one another. We just have to meet ourselves where we are. Let's do a spine twist. Keep your left leg long. Bend your right leg so that your right foot is on the floor. Bring your arms out to the side. And from here, start to roll to your left so that your right hip stacks on top of your left hip. Couple of options. You can keep your right knee bent. You're also welcome to have a pillow underneath your knee. You can also kick your right leg out to the right, and then you'll feel this nice stretch along your right side seat, your right IT band. You can have the back of your head on the floor or look to your right ear on your mat. So now the whole spine is twisted. We're just going to hold here for a minute, just like we did in deer pose, right? This is also a little bit of an internal rotation to the hip. It's a spine twist, good for back health, good for digestion. It's very interesting to me. I know some people who say like yin yoga poses can only be between 3 to 5 minutes or even like 10 minutes, but they can't be less than 3 minutes. But then I also see people who are like, you should only hold this posture for a minute, even in yin yoga. So I like to do somewhere in between. We hold some postures for 3 minutes and 5 minutes, but a few other postures, right? A little bit goes a long way. Still holding the postures longer than we might in like a vinyasa or a 26 into yoga class, but I don't think every posture has to be like the longest posture of all time. Just my opinion. Try to keep your right shoulder on the floor. Chest is open, arms are long. If you're looking over your right shoulder, roll your head back to center. If your right leg is kicked out to the left, bend your right knee, and then slowly roll your right glute down. Bring your right leg back to the floor, bend your left leg up, and this time roll to the left so your left hip stacks on top of your right hip. Option to keep your left knee bent with your option to keep your left knee bent. You can have a pillow under your knee or ankle, or you can kick your left leg out to the right. So you're stretching the side seat and the left IT band. Try to keep your left shoulder down. You can have your head on the floor or look to the left ear towards the floor. Take a moment here just to breathe and relax. Left shoulder down. Let your hands and feet be heavy. If you've looked to the left, roll your head back to center. If you kicked your left leg out to the right, bend your left knee. And as you're ready, slowly roll your left hip down, arms and legs down. Final Savasana, puddle pose. You can open your arms as wide or as little as you want. You are welcome to, put a pillow under your head, under your back, under your feet. And we'll just take a moment here to breathe. So in Yin Yoga, right, we're really opening the body, right? We did a lot of postures where we moved through the heart space, the hips, the shoulders. And I really do believe in the mind-body connection and that these things are related. So often I find that I'm at like my most creative after a yoga class, my most at peace, maybe my most honest with myself, my most gentle with myself. And for that reason, once a month, I like to offer journaling or kind of reflection after class because I think post yoga is a nice opportunity to kind of reflect and look forward where we are kind of able to be both honest and non-judgmental with ourselves. Sometimes we're brutally honest with ourselves and others, but it's not tactful, or we kind of lie to ourselves for others, right? But it's not useful. Honesty without tact is cruelty. Through yoga, we're finding a way both to be honest with ourselves and others, but also tactful with ourselves and others. And that's why I think journaling or reflection afterwards can be so great. So if you'd like, you're welcome to join me for journaling now. If you don't have a journal nearby, but you want to just kind of like stay and reflect, you can stay in your final savasana and listen. And if you have somewhere else to be, or journaling is not your bag, I totally understand. You can silently show yourself out of the Zoom room just by leaving the room. And thank you for coming. Otherwise, take a moment here. If you're staying, you can grab pen and paper. You can maybe take a sip of water if that feels good. Get somewhere comfy. If you want to grab a sweatshirt and put that on, feel free. So the first journaling prompt that I like to share is real simple, and it's just we're going to write down 20 things that we're grateful for. So you could be grateful for like water or your yoga mat or your best friend or whatever that is. We're just going to write out 20 things you're grateful for. 20 things, people, whatever comes to mind. There's truly no right or wrong answer to this. And gratitude is free, and it's something that anytime I'm feeling like a little bit down, if I just take a moment to think like, wow, I'm so grateful for like the sun today, or this beautiful flower arrangement, or whatever it is, all of a sudden life becomes a little bit more manageable. So just writing down 20 things you're grateful for. You might also reflect on if you see any patterns, like sometimes I'm purely grateful for people or like nature things, or it's all over the place. You might notice patterns in who and what you're grateful for.
Okay. Next, we'll reflect. So we're about a week into July. July 2nd marked the official halfway point of 2021. We're at the halfway point of our year. So you can just take a moment, and before we get into the full year, let's think about the month of July. What is one thing that you've learned or you know about yourself now that you did not know or know about yourself at the beginning of the month? What is something that you've learned about in general or that you learned about yourself that you did not know at the beginning of June, I should say? So not July 1st, but at the beginning of June in the last month. What's something that shifted for you that you've learned about yourself? Remember that this journal is just for you, and if it's something deeply personal, you could even safely burn it or tear it up after class. So be as honest with yourself as you want to be, remembering that honesty without tact is cruelty. So you are being both tactful and honest. This is an opportunity to be open with yourself, knowing that nobody else needs to read this. Expanding this a little bit more, or you are welcome to stay on any topic that speaks to you. But now that you've thought back to the last month, think back to the first part of the year. What's something that you know about yourself now or that you've learned about that you didn't know about at the beginning of the year in January? What do you know now that you didn't know at the beginning of the year? You are welcome to stay on this topic or moving on. What are themes that you've seen from the first half of the year? As we transition into the second half of the year, what are your highest hopes, your wildest dreams for the second half of the year? And sometimes when we think about our hopes and our dreams, we can try to play it conservative, but remembering that this is like a journal, you can be as wild as you want. If your dream in the second half of the year is to ride a unicorn across a rainbow, write it down, right? Whatever it is, like have fun, be creative. What are your highest hopes for yourself, your deepest desires, your dreams for the second half of 2021? And looking to the month ahead, what is one small step in the next month or habit that you can create that will get you closer to these hopes and dreams for the second half of the year? In the short term, looking to the month ahead, what is one small step or habit or belief that you can create that will get you closer to your wildest hopes and dreams? And last but not least, if there is a word, a phrase, a mantra, or some sort of sentence that you would like to write down that you want to take with you throughout your July, you can think of that now. Again, it can be a word, a phrase, a quote, a mantra, a sentence. And if you'd like, you could also literally tear this out and put it, in your wallet or in your back pocket, on a wall, on a mirror, something like that. But a word, a phrase, a sentence that you'd like to keep with you in the month of July. You are welcome to continue journaling or contemplating for as long as you'd like. And it is now 7:16, so for the sake of time, I will officially close our journaling session, but I often find that 15 minutes is not enough. So if you want to continue or think about this more and write more later today or tomorrow, just know that journaling is always there for you the same way that yoga is always there for you. And sometimes, like with yoga, I think, oh, I don't have time for a full class, but I realize that I have time for a 5-minute child's pose. Or sometimes you might go, I don't have time for a full journaling session, but I do have time to write down 10 things that I'm grateful for. So just keep that in mind. These things can be like as long or as short as you want. I hope that you have a wonderful rest of your evening. Thank you so much for joining me. Hope to see you all soon. Bye, friends.